Hot take.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Coalition of the Sane hot take, hashtag COTS. It's really good to be with the pro reality army today. And I am going to cover a topic you might be tired of hearing about, and that's the Donald Trump hush money trial. Now, you've heard from legal pundits, you've heard from political experts, you probably heard from every type of person who wants to comment on this trial. And you probably heard the same thing over and over and over again. I am going to probably reiterate a couple things because I think it's good to know as I go into the rest of my conversation. But I wanted to give you a little bit more of a common sense take on what the ripple effect or the cascading effect could be of this specific trial. Now, people have heard about the main players ad nauseum. You're talking about Michael Cohen, the attorney. You're talking about Stormy Daniels. And I think a lot of you might have heard, but I'm not sure about Karen McDougal, the playmate, who was paid $150,000. I don't know if any of you have heard about the alleged hush money payment of $30,000 that was going to be given to suppress a story about some Donald Trump love child, if that is even a thing or not, or if it was true or not. So I'm sure you've heard some of these things. And if you haven't, we certainly can talk about them more. And I'm sure you can talk about in the comments below to some of the people that are on this thread or listening to me as we talk. So, what is the biggest issue for Donald Trump? I think again, you need to concentrate on the playmate. But the biggest issue for Donald Trump is the CEO of American Media, who owned the National Enquirer and was part of the catch and kill scheme that seemed to be allegedly pushed by Donald Trump through his attorneys down to the National Enquirer to catch stories and kill them. Stories that were negative about Donald Trump going into the election year. That's right. Donald Trump has a Pecker problem. That's David Pecker, who is the CEO of American Media. Who is David Pecker? What did he do? David Pecker is the pivot for every single transaction, I think, that happened between the Trump team and what happens with actually identifying those stories that are negative to Donald Trump. Pecker is big. And I think he is really what's going to take down Donald Trump in this trial. But here's the issue, and what I want to bring up in a common sense way. What if Donald Trump is convicted? I want you to think about that for a second. Yes, that's correct. He can still run for president. Now, as you all know, I also own whiskey distilleries. I'm here in rural Virginia, near Charlottesville, Virginia. It's easy to look me up. I have to hide in the wide open in the public because I'm a public figure and I have a public facing company, but I get to talk to a lot of people. I find it odd. I find it absolutely mesmerizing, actually, that the very people who claim the election was stolen, from Trump on down, from Donald Trump through his minions and his little Stalins, all the way to the activist class and to the state parties, those very people might have been the ones actually trying to influence the election. There's a huge difference between a conspiracy theory and a conspiracy. Let me say that again. There's a huge difference between a conspiracy theory and a conspiracy. Conspiracy theory on January 6th, the type of things that Donald Trump was pushing are space lasers, or lasers change votes, or there's a broken algorithm, or Dominion and Smartmatic were rerouting votes through Chinese servers, or there's QFS blockchain watermarked ballots, which came from multiple conspiracy sources, but was highlighted by Jenny Thomas, the wife of Clarence Thomas. You even had ballots being burned out of white vans, or ballots being hidden, or Republican, you know, individuals not allowed into voting rooms. You had all these conspiracy theories. So many. Hammer and scorecard out of the National Security Agency. Sorry, I know too many. And then you have those who are talking about the deep state or globalists changing the election are the ones influencing the election through hush money payments. We're trying to suppress communications. We're trying to hide those payments. That would be the Trump campaign or the attorneys around him. So as I talk to people in the area, and everybody wants to talk to Denver, I'm a former congressman, they talk about how they can't believe this is happening to Donald Trump, that the Biden crime family should be the ones behind bars. They believe the deep state and the globalists who, in their mind, won the election for Joe Biden by stealing it from Donald Trump November 3rd of 2020 are actually the ones behind this proceeding, this court proceeding, the hush money case. Boy, it's hard to get around it. You think about these are evangelicals, these are Christians, people who you would think would be against a president who paid porn stars and playmates not to talk about his sexual misadventures. You might believe that that's a problem for Christians. Should be, but it wasn't really a problem even back as far back as 2015. The bus, Access Hollywood with Billy Bush. So, what is my issue? My issue is this trial could increase the support that Donald Trump has among that population. The exuberance that I've seen in supporting Donald Trump has gone up since the trial started with people who are supporters of him. I don't think this trial changes anything when it comes to the election. It might even help Donald Trump as we go forward. And I think that's why the coalition of the sane is so important. At what point do you say, I've had enough? At what point do you, in a compassionate, confrontational way, what I call compassionate confrontation, you go to these individuals and say, how could you support an individual like this? Here's the issue about judgment, is that it's incredible to me that even if he's not found guilty, or even if he's found guilty, that just the judgment of a person like Donald Trump should prevent him from winning the presidency. I was thinking, if this 20 years ago, would this happen? I don't know. But what I do know is that the very people that you would think would find him heinous are the people that are supporting him, and the people that are falling back into the conspiratorial mindset that the deep state and the globalists are the ones orchestrating this trial against Donald Trump. And I know that I've said this a couple times, but I want to get this through to you, is that I believe polling will go up for Donald Trump. There's always a good and a bad, a yin and a yang, whatever you want to talk about when it comes to these type of trials, especially with Donald Trump. But the fact is, as far as his supporters are concerned, he's just being maligned by another conspiracy. And the conspiracy that he actually joined in, allegedly, that conspiracy didn't really happen. And here's the last thing. This is what really gets me. Most of these conspiracy theorists, not only do they think it's orchestrated by the deep state and globalists, they don't even think he slept with Stormy Daniels. They believe Stormy Daniels was trying to take advantage of a very wealthy man. They believe Stormy Daniels made it up to extort money from Donald Trump. And they don't even talk about the Playmate guys. They didn't even talk about the real issue that Michael Cohen is already convicted. They don't even acknowledge the fact that there's signed checks. If you think about the Kristi Noem issue, right, and the fact that she couldn't even answer those questions from CNN, or she had to fumble about when CNN confronted her with the facts of the case, and you know that there's really just this purposeful, I would say, blocking of anything on Donald Trump, especially for people who want to run for vice president. But if you go back to the court case, if you go back to Stormy Daniels, if you go back to Karen McDougal, Trump has a Pecker problem. And it's a big problem. I don't know how he gets around that. So we have a felon that could possibly win the presidency of the United States. So as you're out there and you're pushing Coalition of the Sane, and you're pushing I am sane, I am dealing in reality, this trial probably doesn't make a big difference at all when it comes to the election. The difference is, how do you convince those, and it's not going to be many, maybe 1 of 10, 1 of 20, are you able to compassionately confront those people who are still stuck in a conspiratorial mindset? Number one. Number two, if you can't, are you willing to move on? Number three, are you willing to mobilize those voters who are in the sane column? Those could be independents, center-right Republicans, any of those individuals who somehow think Trump's policies, whatever those might be, overwhelms his personal issues. This is just the beginning. What happens in the other trials? There's a lot more to come. And maybe this setup, this conspiratorial setup, as most people believe on the right, or those who support Trump, maybe they need this to get through the other trials. I just don't know. Anyhow, I want all of you to have a very good day. Be careful, keep your head on a swivel, and let's get to work.